Welcome to the Working Mama podcast, a show that provides real-world tips, tricks, and advice to all working mamas on how they can have a career, family, and hopefully one day break the glass ceiling. Well, hello there, Mama. Welcome back to another episode of the Working Mama podcast. I know it's been a little while since I've done a solo episode, so I thought I'd jump in and share with you some questions about returning to work, because I know that it can be filled with a lot of doubt, anxiety, a bit of trepidation. And so what I want to chat to you today is about 5 questions that you can ask yourself. It's just a bit of a reflection, just wondering how you're going. And even if you've already returned back into work recently, this is also some good questions that you could even ask yourself at the moment about how you're going even in your work as well. Because we all know that parental leave is probably one of the longest periods of work, one of the longest periods you've ever had away from your job and career. And I actually say that returning back into work isn't just you are on maternity leave one day and you're back to work the next. I actually class it as a transition. So it should be really, in my sense, called the return to work transition. Because there's a physical as well as a mental transition, I believe, that takes place. And when you're on maternity leave, you know, the role of raising a little human sees you fully immersed in that experience. But then also that, you know, the job that you used to do seems to be a completely other world. And then you're about to return into that as well. And being on maternity leave, everything's very up in the air, unscheduled. You never know when you're going to get a poo explosion, you're breastfeeding or you're feeding kids. And, you know, there's so many unknowns. But then also as you're starting to consider that return, or if you've also just recently returned, there's a lot of a bit of adjustment. And that's why I always say it's a really good opportunity to, you know, grab a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, ideally on your own. Could be once the little ones are having a nap during the day or at night, and actually sit down and reflect. Because it's not until sometimes you just have those moments, you sit down, even you get a pen and just journal some of this out, you can go, oh, this is how I'm really feeling. And look, returning back into work is naturally a bit of a mixed emotions. You know, you're saying goodbye to, you know, being your child's full-time carer 24/7, but there's also some advantages. For example, you can actually go to the toilet on your own, which is just amazing. I've even still got an 18-month-old and a 4-year-old, and I even get every day, you know, I don't go to the toilet on my own and often have little people wanting to assist. So definitely when I'm working from home or even in the office, going to the toilet is something that I really enjoy on my own. Sorry if that's too much information. So what I'm going to go through now is give you some 5 questions to ask yourself. And it could even be at the moment, even reflect on how you're actually going as a working mum. So I'm going to go through them, bit of an explanation for each of them, and then I'll recap them at the end. Now, the first one is, what have been your highlights whilst you're on maternity leave? Like, what have you really enjoyed? What are those things that you're like, wow, that really remind you, yes, that was a great period and things like that. Some of my highlights of when I've been on maternity leave have been able to, say, walk up to the shops, even during COVID and lockdowns, and being able to get a coffee, going for walks, and also particularly on my first maternity leave was about meeting my mother's group, and I'm still friends with a number of them to this very day. So that have been 2 key highlights, you know, exercise and also meeting my mother's group from being on maternity leave. The next question is about what have been the biggest challenges for you. And look, there might be a very long list. There might even be a short list for you. Everyone's different. And also this could be, you know, if you've recently returned back into work, even ask yourself, what are your current challenges? So definitely one of my biggest challenges of being on maternity leave, I can tell you, was breastfeeding. I've struggled with that, particularly the first 6-8 weeks with both of my sons, and it's challenge. It's teary. I got mastitis with my second son, and it was not fun. But then another challenge has also been, lack of sleep. and that has really, thrown you, just like most parents. So they are two really key challenges, and I could go on, but I know you don't want to hear me pour my heart out about all my challenges that I've had along the way. What surprised me the most? And so that's my third question is, what has surprised you the most? And so if you've recently returned back into work, it could also be what surprised you about the return into work. So one of the things that surprised me the most, particularly for my second one, is about how much more I enjoyed it than I thought I would, of actually being on maternity leave again, and about enjoying those experiences. I definitely had up and downs with my first, and certainly as well with my second, a few different emotions for different reasons. But I have to say that I enjoyed being a mum and having that focus on my kids a lot more than I ever thought I would, definitely pre-kids. So that was one of the things that really surprised me the most. So that's the third question. Now, the fourth question I've got for you is about what have you enjoyed doing the most. So similar to about what have been your highlights, but this is about what do you enjoy, being whilst you've been on leave, or certainly as well, if a good another question is about when you've just returned. So what are you enjoying doing the most? But then also conversely to that, what have you enjoyed doing the least? And that's question number 5. What have you enjoyed doing the least? For example, I really hate changing nappies. And so that's one thing that I really don't enjoy. But what have I enjoyed doing the most? Definitely it's probably playing with the kids and things like that. So, and just getting to know myself in a different way. And so they're the 5 questions that I wanted to leave with you and help you reflect on your maternity leave, or if you've also recently returned, you can definitely reflect back on your maternity leave, or also reflect on how you're going at the moment. So the first question, just to recap, is what have been your highlights? Number 2, what have been your biggest challenges? Number 3, what has surprised you the most? Number 4, what have you enjoyed doing the most? And then number 5, what have you enjoyed doing the least? So grab a cuppa, have a cup of coffee on your own, cup of tea, and just sit down and just think about these questions. I'd certainly suggest to get a pen and journal them out, and have a bit of fun. Love to hear what your experiences have been and what some of your responses are. So you can either DM me on Instagram at Working Mama Community, or you send me a message or email or something like that. Love to hear what your experiences have been. And I'm also going to be launching in October a 4-module return to work program. So if you're about to return into work, certainly stay tuned for it. It is currently available for free inside the Working Mama Village, the membership that we've got, but that will actually be taken away for members that join after 1 September, so that's the end of August. So definitely, if you're interested and you want to get this program for free, join up to the Working Mama Village before the end of August. Otherwise, this program will be available, and I'm going to be running a brand new program from 1 October 2022. So look forward to welcoming you. And if you've got any questions, as always, send me a DM, and look forward to sharing with you the next episode. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Working Mama podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. I invite you also to join the Working Mama community on Facebook and join in the conversation with other like-minded working mums. Please also feel free to contact me on any of the Working Mama social channels. Remember, Mama is MUMMA, or website www.workingmama.com.au. I would appreciate you to share this podcast with friends and colleagues, especially those that are parents managing the juggle. And I would really appreciate if you had to take the time out to leave a review of the podcast. I'll be giving a shout out to select people that do so stay listening and you might be one of them. Thank you, and see you next time. Have a great week.